Welcome, everyone, to the Main Street Business Podcast with Mark Kohler and Matt Sorensen. It's 2021. Can you believe it? 2021. It just sounds weird.
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah. It's not 2020, though. That's the good news, folks. That's the good news.
There's our little, that's good call. Good call. Yep. Oh, what a year. Over.
Yeah.
Put that one down in the record books.
Yeah. We're starting off 2021 fresh, and I see Mark has a fresh trim, fresh cut. I like you kept it longer, though. You just kind of tidied it up a little.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you. You know, I'm going through that stage in life where you have to kind of look, you're trying to keep your youth, you know, and it's a weird thing getting old. All you young bucks and young gals that listen to our show, I know I was there. You think you're never going to get old, and well, it just happens. And I'm at the feet. I'm at the fountain of youth, doing all I can. So I've been growing out my hair a little bit, trying to look younger. And for those that are just
you have it. It's good that you have it. So that's a good.
Well, for those just joining us, we try to ham this up a little bit. Yes, we are live also on YouTube with a recorded visual of us. For those of you that sometimes we pull out a whiteboard. So if you want to go over to YouTube and watch that, you can. But we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. We've done over 500 podcasts, over 1 million listens, got a great 5-star review. And we hope that you find this to be an important part of your podcast library. We are just humble little tax lawyers trying to save you money, protect your wealth, grow your business, and give you straight answers you can actually understand. But that sounded good. We should use that slogan on our website.
Yeah, you just nailed it. You nailed it. And if you're on YouTube, you can see my nice little product placement here, my KKOS Lawyers Cup that I drink from regularly.
I've got my Rockstar Restore right here. Lemonade, non-carbonated, only 10 calories.
Yeah, one day they're gonna pay. They're gonna pay for this sponsorship.
They're gonna pay big. I'm still trying to get a hold of someone there, but
yeah. All right. Well, today's topic is, it's the beginning of 2021. It's a little cliche to talk about New Year's resolutions. So we're going to talk about strategic planning.
Yes.
Which is way more hardcore than New Year's resolutions, but it's for any of you business owners, investors. I mean, crap, you could strategic plan in your personal life, but it's something Mark and I do regularly together. We do it in our businesses, and we use it as a guide through the year on things we want to do. So we want to kind of outline how to build and create a strategic plan. Mark's got chapters in his book on it, some articles as well. So that's the main event for today.
Yep, that's the soup du jour, and we hope that sounds exciting and not blasé. We encourage you to stick with us. We start with a tax tip and legal tip, which we're going to do here in just the next few moments. Maybe a little current news update as well. We've got a lot of things going on in the legislative world. If America's coming to an end in a civil war, who knows? But I just want to go to the Avengers movie and watch Civil War. I don't need to turn on CNN and watch it. So, so we'll do a little news update, tax tip, legal tip. But seriously, carrying around your strategic plan throughout the year as a business owner is absolutely critical, and especially even more so if you are married, you're in a business with another family member, a parent or a child, or you have a partner, a business partner, and they've got their family, you got your family. When you're not on the same page with the direction of your company for the year, let alone 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what's it look like? A lot of times partners have a vision that they don't share. It doesn't mean you can't still work together and be very successful, but you've got to know what each partner's motives are and their end game. So that's a big part of the strategic plan. So this isn't just list your goals, knock them out, put a post-it on your mirror in your bathroom. This is going to be good. So stay tuned.
Love it.
All right. Matt, you want to do a little news? Do you want to do a tip? You
I don't know.
The agenda.
I follow zero news right now. I don't even know what's going on in the world. Bring me up to speed. What's happening?
Okay. I've done a little news.
Kim and Kanye are breaking up.
The Bachelorette is on episode 4. It's really heating up. Oh, you meant the the real news. Sorry, yeah, we watched TMZ. That's the real news. Um, it looks like Georgia went Democratic with both senators. Now, I'm not making that official call here, but this morning, this morning, it looks like it would be an uphill battle based on CNN and Fox political coverage of the race. So that means Camilla will be, is that how you say Camilla, or should I say Vice President Harris?
Kamala.
Kamala. I've got to get used to this. Our vice president will be the tiebreaker in the Senate, which means Joe Biden and his administration are going to have a clean slate to do a tax reformation act as he has promised. And what that's going to mean to all of us this year, we're going to wait and see. So that's why this podcast is very, very important. We want to keep you abreast of any new strategies that are coming out. But that's kind of the biggest news. And then there's all this, oh my gosh, social media news on voter fraud. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a can of worms I want to open up on the show.
Let's not even talk about that.
I'm not even talk about that. I'm just going to say this. I have faith in the hundreds of thousands of volunteers that helped administer the election this fall and over the past week. And I have to have faith in that. If I don't have faith in our voting system, then we've got anarchy here in America, and I don't need that. So that's what I'm having faith in. I know that there might be some isolated, crazy stuff going on, but enough to change things. I don't know. So I'm going to be a team player, Matt.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think anybody cares about that on our show, but I mean, cares what we think. Maybe they do.
That's right.
But
but what that means for a tax and legal show is got to stay tuned.
That's true. We're going to, yeah, very true. Very good point. Is that stay tuned. There's going to be some curveballs coming down this next year. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see some of that. So, but I do have a tax tip, which is actually good. It's some good news.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right. So, solo 401k deadlines. All right. So now you can always still contribute to your solo K up until a tax return deadline.
Now, you slow down. Put this in frame this up for everybody that may not know what a solo 401k is. Just a 30-second. If you're a business owner, I can do it. Okay. You want to do it? You want to
solo 401k is basically a 401k. If you're a small business owner, you don't have any employees other than you, or maybe your spouse or a business partner, but you don't have any other third-party employees. You know what I mean? It's just you. And you basically set up a 401k plan for yourself, where you can participate as the employee and put in employee contributions, and you can participate as the employer because you actually own the business and put in employer contributions. The cool thing about a solo K, since you own the business, you're going to do the most generous employer contributions you can. So you can be putting in $57,000 a year into a solo K, even more if you're over 50. So that's the solo K. It's a popular account. Clients self-direct of ours. Many of us are small business owners that don't have any employees, consultants, real estate agents, investors. A lot of them fall into that bucket. Use a solo K as their retirement account of choice. Now, the traditional rule is you need to have your solo K set up by December 31st of that year. So let's say December 31st, 2020, if you want to make 2020 contributions.
That are tax deductible.
That are tax deductible.
2020. And Correct. You have a lot of time to put the money in 2021. That's
Correct.
The beauty.
You've got until your tax return deadline. So if you're an S Corp, you got until March 15th. If you're a sole prop, you got until April 15th. Plus your extensions on top of that, you get too. So you can really save some time and not put money in. Now, the hard thing is you need to figure out your employee contributions in January, because if you're an S Corp, you got to do a W-2. You don't need to put the money in necessarily. And that's where there's a lot of nuance in this. Yeah. That's why we tell clients, just get your plan set up at year end and get all your crap done right now, because there's all this nuance that it might not work for you, because not everyone sits in the same boat and has the same tax planning and has money set aside. Everybody's a little different. So, and I do have an article, by the way, on directedira.com that's solo 401k contribution steps and procedures that walks you through this. The big tip, though, that I want to give is the Secure Act changed the deadline of when you need to set up the plan for employer contributions. So if you're like, I didn't get it set up in 2020, Matt. Can you guys still do a solo K and I can put in 2020 contributions? Yes, we can still set up a solo K. For 2020 tax purposes, you can still contribute employer contributions. All right. You're not going to be able to get the employee in. It's
Because your
possible you could
W-2's
work it.
filed.
Yeah, it's possible you could work it in the next week or two here. You know, you're probably doing your W-2 now, getting those numbers to your account. So there's a little sliver here, but in general, the good news is if you're listening to this in January, you know, mid-January, February, whatever, is you can still do a solo K up until your tax return deadline. If you're an S Corp, that's March 15th. And you can make an employer contribution. So if you made 100 grand on your W-2, you can put in 25% of your W-2 of your compensation. So you could throw in 25 grand as a 2020 contribution. Okay. So that's the good news and update. Solo Ks do work after December 31st for 2020 contributions, only for the employer side contribution.
Now, what this might, just to add a little amendment from a legislative standpoint, since we're all hearing the Senate freak out on the floor and fights everywhere in Congress and state legislatures around the country. My amendment to that would be, think of the SEP. Many of you that are small business owners may have had an accountant that advocated the SEP, the self-employed pension. S as in Sam, E as in Echo, P as in Paul. Little old school. We're not a big fan of the SEP. It's kind of, I forgot to do a 401k, I better do a SEP, or I just hired employees, I can do a SEP for a couple of years before I have to launch a full-on employer plan. So the SEP has its place in the framework of building a retirement account fast and hard. And I like this new law that allows you to kind of do that 401k catch up in a sense. But once you set up the 401k, you're never going to go back to the SEP. It's just so much more efficient with the 401k. So you'd set up your 401k now in the next 2 or 3 months, figure out your employer contribution, and then turn around and you can do your 2021 employee contribution and your match for 2021. And you can take all that money, you control the solo 401k and go invest it immediately in what you know best. And that's the power, the excitement of the solo 401k that we've been sharing around the country, is that it's not, it doesn't have to be tied up in a brokerage account. You could invest it in Bitcoin. Whew. Matt, your article on Bitcoin's out again. It's
I updated it. Yeah, it's funny. Bitcoin went over 30,000. When I recorded my last video on it, which was 3 years ago, I have a whole chapter in my book, the Self-Directed IRA Handbook, on buying cryptocurrency with a self-directed IRA. But I wrote an article on it too. And I talked about how Bitcoin went from 44 cents to $2,500 in like a few years and how crazy that was. And I mean, that was 3 years ago. Now it's gone from 2,500 to $30,000 per Bitcoin. So I'm not saying to go out and buy it. It's highly speculative, by the way. Yeah. So just, you know, don't go all in on it. But yeah, if you feel that's where you want to go, you make the decision, you kind of set aside the right amount of money to do it. You can absolutely do it with a solo 401k or self-directed IRA. And my article is just out on it yesterday. Yeah. So check for it in the newsletter. If you don't have the newsletter, get to mainstreetbusiness.com where you can sign up for the newsletter to make sure you'll get all these updates we're giving in these tips here and on the crypto topic, which has been a really popular one we've seen a lot of activity on.
Yeah, good stuff, Matt. And in summary, kind of a tangent, a lot of listeners really migrate to our show because we're not financial advisors. We're not going to tell you what to buy. We don't get a commission based on what you buy. Our goal is to give you the world. We want you to be able to invest in anything possibly allowed under the law, and you control your retirement account. And that's a foreign concept for millions of America and mainstream America. And Wall Street doesn't want you to know that. That's the title of one of my books behind here. What Wall Street isn't telling you. So have fun with that. Okay, now I've got a legal tip. And this bleeds into the tax arena as well. I've just had, oh my gosh, probably 5 to 10 consults in the last 30 days leading up to the end of the year. And now even just, I was getting my hair cut, as Matt knows, a half hour ago. And a client of mine walked in and he was talking about this very tip that I had already kind of planned to talk about. So it was a little ironic. And that tip is, when you have a partner in your business, how should you be structured? Now that may sound simple. Well, I just set up an LLC. That's what I see on Google. That's what everybody says to do. I'll just set up an LLC. Now, that is half right. In fact, in most of our partnerships for our clients that we design as a law firm and an accounting firm, as tax lawyers, we're going to use the LLC, but they don't know why. And the why is a big deal because I just met with a couple doctors a week ago. They had an LLC between them, and that was it. They stopped there. They only went halfway. So they were paying tax out the wazoo with this LLC because LLCs do not save taxes. They define the partnership. They lay out the partnership arrangement, the agreement. Highly recommend that. They've got a bank account. They got merchant accounts. They're billing. They're doing this, this, and this. Their partnership was functionally wonderful, but their tax returns were a disaster. And they didn't know why. They just did what this old school accountant had recommended to them. So upset when I recommended, when you're having a profitable partnership operationally, we're not talking about rental property, but I have an operational partnership that's making money, well over 50,000 on each side of the equation for each partner. Then we need to set up an S corporation for each partner. We don't turn the LLC into an S corp. That's actually the worst thing you can do. So we want to have each partner as an S corporation so they can individually plan their tax lives and have the most flexibility to maximize write-offs, reduce chances of an audit, not have to commingle their tax planning together. If they were to make an S election at the LLC level, oh my gosh, it's so hard to unwind and it's a mess. And it is literally thousands of dollars to unravel in a lot of ways, but it pays off. It's just miserable for the clients and they swear and huff, complain about their client, their accountant that pushed them in that direction. So this time of year, why this tip I'm sharing with you now is so important is if you're going to make the transition from one LLC to two S corps owning the parent LLC or unravel an S corp and restructure, you want to do it at the end of the year. You want to do it at the beginning of the year. It's very difficult to knock out in June or July. Now you've got a half year situation and it's just more complicated. So if you're in one of those situations, I've got a chapter on partnership planning and taxation in my book, Tax and Legal Playbook, written for the layperson. It's a very easy read, lots of diagrams, it comes with a set of crayons so you can color in it, very, simple. So you can play with it. We want to make sure you're reading our books as a layperson, as a basic business owner. We're not writing these books for other attorneys and CPAs. Those are much more technical that are out there, but that's my tip. Matt, anything you to add as an amendment to that? Any thoughts?
No, without objection, that tip is approved.
Okay.
Without objection.
No fraud involved there. Okay.
All right. Well, let's get into the strategic planning topic. And this is one I think it's a fun topic. Okay. This is one of the fun things in your business as you're building a business, to take a step back and chart a course, like figure out where the hell you're trying to go and how you're going to get there. And I know many of you that are business owners, you've started a business, you maybe had a business plan at the beginning. If you don't have a strategic plan, this can be awesome. The nice thing is if you have a partner or people you work with or a management team or a board of advisors, it's great to sit down and do this with someone else in your business. And maybe it's a spouse. I don't know. Everybody's situation is a little different, I get the pleasure of doing it with Mark. Yeah. And this is one of the best. This is what I look forward to the most in our business is setting the strategic plan and reviewing it too.
And let's start at the top. And this is important. I'm going to just add to what Matt said in this way. Why am I always adding to your comments? Well, that's offensive. I should not do that. I'm just going to say, here's another angle. If you're a solo entrepreneur, or solopreneur, as sometimes they're called.
Yeah.
You may say, well, I know what my plan is. I don't need to write it down. Oh, no. If anybody needs to write it down, I think the solopreneur has the biggest reason to do so, because you're in the trees. And it's really, really hard to step back and look at the forest. You're going to get beat up every day, every week, every month, and you're going to get bounced around. You need, if you use kind of a boat analogy, you've got to set your course. You've got to get out there and use nowadays a satellite. I'm not a sailor, so any of you out there can talk more about setting your course and having your rudder going the direction you want it to go. Because when the storm hits, you need to have a plan, and the storm's going to happen. You just got to know that. Did you see 2020? You want to? I mean, what do you do, right? So, and then you're going to.
Which, by the way, let me say on that.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit some of these points, but this is general. You're going to amend your plan too. Like, we amended our strategic plans, like literally rewrote pieces of the strategic plans that we have because of COVID. Yeah. And you had to do stuff different. And so this is not like a one and done thing. It's done. And you're going to revisit this. You're going to reanalyze it. You may change it through the year.
Yeah. And you're going to share it, my friends, with your board of directors. Now, when you have a partner, you're going to get together and share and talk about it. But even in a married couple situation, I'd like you to invite 2 or 3 friends over for dinner and say, you're now on our board of directors. We would like to get your feedback on our business. If you're single, you're going to get those 3 to 5 friends on a Zoom call, in person, wherever. Go out to eat, take a trip. Matt and I are planning literally this month, where it's the 15th, Matt. We got to get on this, or 10th, whatever it is. What is it today? 6th.
6th.
Oh my gosh. We're only one
we're
week.
Not that far behind. We're okay.
Yeah. But we're going to plan a little rendezvous for a couple days, probably in Vegas. Go shoot guns, drive fast cars, just the normal stuff. But plan to share your plan. Ooh, that sounded good. Plan to share your plan. That should be it.
Okay. That's a good plan.
Before you start writing,
that was the best joke. That was a great joke. I just nailed one right there.
What was that joke? Did I miss it? What was it?
You said plan to share your plan, and I said that sounds like a good plan.
Now I know why I missed it. Anyway, so
it was hard to catch it.
It's subtle. It was subtle. Okay, now here I'm going to throw out what I think is step 1 in designing your strategic plan. Okay, we talked about why it's so important, who you're going to share it with, and that was our sales pitch there. Okay.
Yep.
What's your step 1? It's called your 10-year plan and ideal scene. You don't plan this year. You write down where you want to be in 10 years and work backwards so that you can get a clear picture of what this year should look like with the end in mind. Matt, you're the one that taught me about this. You tell me what your experience.
Yeah, so it's sometimes called like setting your vision. What's your 10-year vision? Like, where do you want to be in 10 years? What do you want the company to look like, or your investments, whatever you're strategic planning here for? Because you can strategic plan for your business, your investment assets, whatever it is. But what do you want it to look like? What are you doing in the business? How involved are you? If you are involved, what are the things that you're doing in the business? Who else is involved in the business with you? Do you have a team of people? Like, is family involved or not? So you want to set where you, what's your ideal scene? This is what Mark said, of how you want to look in 10 years, and be aggressive. Set what you really want. This is the cool thing about owning a business is you can do it, I mean, but don't be conservative and be like, well, if I grow 5% a year for the next 10 years, I'll be at this. No, what do you really want? And maybe it is, maybe you're like, you know what? I like making what I'm making. I don't want to change it much. Okay. But set your ideal scene, but set it for what you truly want and are going for. Go for it.
Yeah. And the examples might be, how much money is in the bank? How many rental properties do I have? How much revenue is the business bringing in? How many number of employees? Be as specific as you can, and write down numbers that are measurable so that you can say, okay, that makes sense. And I like what Matt just said, that maybe you're not looking to blow it up and be the next franchise business in America. I know a restaurant owner down in our Cedar City town where our home office is. Matt and I lived there for each about 10 years as we were building the business. And we've expanded the business to different locations and moved out of there, but we have 30 employees there we love, and a great team base there. And there's a little restaurant owner there. every day he comes out and he's serving people at their tables. You know the one I'm talking about, Matt, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he's like, we've asked him before, why do you open up another location? He's killing it. He's like, don't want the stress. He goes, I make good money. I know what I'm putting on people's table looks great. They're happy. I can talk to them. I go home at the end of the day. I'm making enough money. He's been hit up to franchise so many times, but
Yeah.
that's his goal. Now, to me, what's your 10-year plan? How are you going to position this to at least sell that location? Who are you going to bring up underneath you?
Yeah, or our family gets involved, the next generation perhaps, or maybe a partner would take over. You bring in a kind of a junior partner that takes over time. And so, but so set your vision of where you want to go. And 10 years is we're going to work backwards from 10. 10 is enough where you can really transform a business. You can do a lot of things in 10 years. If you're just thinking 1 year at a time, you don't push yourself. I think we're a little more measured when we think 1 year, but 10 years is like, you can really dream and what you want to do. And now we can work backwards to how can we turn that dream of your business into reality? And that's what the strategic plan is. How do I actually execute on this vision that I have for my business or my investments or my personal finances or whatever it is you may be planning about?
Yeah. And what's nice is it can be a little mechanical to give us a starting point, but we're also going to be realistic. Let me give an example. You may say, I want to have 10 rental properties that are cash flowing. I'm not going to have them paid off, but I want to have 10 rentals that cash flow in 10 years. Okay, fairly realistic. We have lots of clients that go that. That's probably a part of my plan. Rental properties are part of my plan. I don't know the exact number that I want. I may say X $1 million worth of real estate. It doesn't have to be 10 properties. It could be 4 properties, but I want a certain value of real estate because I might go commercial or something. So you say you're going to have 10 rentals in 10 years. Then as Matt says, you're going to bring it back. You'll say, okay, well, in 5 years, maybe I shouldn't have 5 rentals. In 3 years, I better have 3. Ooh, my goal in 2021 is to have 1 rental. Okay. Now that may seem a little mechanical, and I think it's a good starting point. Now the example is some clients call me up and they were sharing their 10-year plan with me, and we'll talk about where to write it down and how to use it. Of course, a lot more to talk about. And they rolled it out and they said, we're going to have 30 rentals in 10 years. I was like, all right, well, cool. And I was like, well, what do you got now? 0. Okay. How's your income look? Okay. I've come to find out they're living month to month. I'm like, okay, how much debt do you have? 20 or 30 grand in consumer debt. Young kids, no college savings. And if they said, we don't plan to pay for our kids' college, fine. But they said they wanted to. I'm like, okay, that's going to play into this 10-year plan. So all of a sudden I said, 30 rentals, I'm not going to take that away from you. Let's keep that 30 rentals out there. And they said, well, we better have 3 rentals by the end of this year because 30 divided by 10, we better have 3 rentals. I go, no, you're not going to buy rentals for 2 years. And they're like, Mark, what the heck? This is our 10-year plan. We got to work backwards. We better have 3 rentals this year and 6 rentals by the end of next year if we're going to get there. I go, no. Sometimes we have to take 2 steps back and get our debt under control, get our emergency savings under control, build our business so it's creating enough income to support expansion and growth and acquisitions. Then we can go buy in the 3rd year. And maybe in that 3rd year, we'll buy 5 rentals. But right now, you're not built to expand. You're not in acquisition mode. We're in circle the wagons mode, building a foundation. They still may get to 30 rentals, but don't be so mechanical that you just go out and harry-carry, divide by 10, and that's your plan. No. You got to take an assessment of your current financial condition. We don't go on a marathon without packing water, making sure we're in shape. We have the right shoes. We're ready to go on this hike or run this race. We just don't run out the door. Okay, I'm going. No. Let's slow down and pack our bag. Let's get ready. So it's a trek.
Yeah. So one thing I was going to note too is I actually have separate strategic plans for different things. So I have a strategic plan for my rental properties and personal finances. Okay. Which I think is separate from my businesses. And I was
Matt's never shared that
Mark and I. What's that?
Matt's never shared that with me.
Oh, yes, I do.
Very private to Matt Sorensen. Oh, is he grabbing it? Do we have a YouTube moment here?
Yeah. I have a 1-page summary. Don't zoom in on this. Yeah, a 1-page summary that this is my 2020 when you can see all the notes on there. I'm updating for 2021, and it's all the things in there that I want to do from a personal finances standpoint that includes my rental properties and strategies. So, but then we have a strategic plan in the law firm, for example. We have a strategic plan in directed IRA. And so you can have strategic plans in different areas. So for some of you that have like a operational business or services you do, and you have rental properties, as we've been bringing up, those are probably going to be two different strategic plans. I like those being two different things because you could never have too many strategic plans.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Now, my next point was going to be exactly what I love Matt showed. I'm going to lift up mine. Here is my 2020 strategic plan. I've actually got it in a calendar planner format. I want to make a comment on that. I know some of you have already purchased my 2021 calendar and are saying, where the heck is it? It's January 6th. I'll come to that in a moment. But here's my 2020 calendar that we got out to. We sold 1,000 of these last year. I came out with mine the same year Dave Ramsey came out with his, and mine's better. But anyway, and I love what he does, so I was just chiding him. But I carry this around, and I've got written on several pages our business plan, strategic plan, just like I said, for different companies, mine personally, marketing plan, some to-do items. I like incorporating it with my calendar, and I carry this with everywhere I go. Now, let me say this. I know you digital people out there are going, hold it, you guys are way too old school. I'm doing it all on my phone. Now, hey, I do everything on my phone too. I use every app I can. I use my phone for everything. But when I create a note or a voice memo or something on my phone, it gets lost. It gets buried. I don't look at it again. I really don't. I'm challenging all of you to go a little old school. It's a little thing called pen and paper, pencil to paper. Write it down. Put it by your nightstand at night. Take it on a plane. And when you open it, every time you open it, it's staring you in the face. And I can look at my calendar for March and go, oh, okay, here's what's going on in March. Big picture, tax deadlines, education events I'm going to, a message for the month. And my plan is right here. Now I'm still using my phone, but I think there's a huge value. I love that Matt right there just ripped off the wall his 1 year, his personal plan right there. It's in front of him. You can't do that with a phone all the time.
Sorry, excuse me. In the writing, like this is what I've used. It's the Moleskine. Mark has his calendar now, but this is what I started with in 2017. The reason I like this is all I have in here. I've got some other key things, the personal stuff, but it's got 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. I've got 4 years of strategic plans here, which is awesome because I look back and see the stuff that we've done. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want to start doing. If you have strategic planned already, start there, assess where you're at based on what you set your 10-year vision before. What do we need? Do we need to reset it at all? And then assess what you said you were going to do last year. Were you successful or not? How serious were you? Like, do you need to kind of check in with yourself and be like, I kind of sucked at doing this. The nice thing of what Mark and I meet, it's pretty amazing. We bat it's about 90%, if not better, of the things we actually get through that we throw out. And, but it's motivating. It's fun to look back and be like, man, despite 2020 or whatever year it was being a tough year, I actually got a lot done. I did the things I knew I could do that could improve my business.
Yeah. And there's a kind of a personal improvement concept here that when you go to many of you listening to our show have maybe gone to a personal counselor or a development conference or gone through some corporate training. A lot of times you're taught to journal, have a gratitude journal, carry something around where you write down at the end of the day, the week, the month, what are you grateful for? How are things going? There's a power in putting it on paper because like Matt, if he wrote down his 2017 strategic plan in his phone, after 9 Google updates and iTunes and a new phone, it's gone. You'll never find it. You guys know this.
Yeah. And this is this is sacred to me. This book right here,
Oh,
I've got like if lost, return to me and you're gonna get like a bunch of money. But like, and I literally, I mean, I remembered we were gonna do this show today, but like it's in my bag every day. This is the one of the physical things I take with me everywhere because I want to look at it. It's, it's kind of like people, just your goals, like, do you have a goals? Are they written down? Are they with you? Like, how important are they to you?
yeah.
Make it different than the convenient tech stuff on your dang phone.
Yep. A couple other thoughts on this. And again, what you may say, well, what are you writing in your strategic plan? We'll come to that. But let's see where we've come so far. You're going to write down this 10-year ideal scene. What's it going to look like? Personal life. Am I still with this person or not? What's in my bank account? What's my business look like? Have I ran a marathon or done a triathlon? Have I climbed Mount Everest? Whatever your bucket list. I think putting your bucket list items are on there. That's great.
Yeah.
I've actually written down my bucket list items in here. One of them Matt knocked out for me, but I still have to go do it. He had an opportunity a year or so ago to go to England and see a soccer game with the Premier League.
Oh yeah.
And
that was like 4 years ago. That's been a while.
Really?
That's been that long. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it seems like just a couple of years ago. But that's on my bucket list is I want to go to England and go to a soccer game at night in the rain and eat fish and chips. Oh, that's one of my bucket list.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Matt, let me say this. Let me
okay.
finish. But when you carry this plan around with you and you take it and you're going to update it and you're going to change it and you're going to carry it with you everywhere you go. And my point I was just going to say is when Matt said he takes it everywhere, when we go golfing as a partnership, he'll ask me, you got your plan with you? I got mine. And we'll literally be, driving down the golf course and we're not great golfers. We're okay. It's the corporate sport, but we're more worried about the result of our planning session than our score. We're just having a good time talking.
Yeah.
Take it with you everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. I know whenever Mark and I are going to physically be in the same place, I have it with me, because it'll come up. So, okay, I like to break it down into categories. Mark was you're throwing out a lot of stuff of like, some personal stuff, personal goals, finances. And the way I do it, I strategic plan in each column. So if it's like, say, personal things or personal relationships or family and kids, that's one thing. Yeah. And I literally outlined that in terms of like, what's my expectation with my kids? What's the relationship I want? How much time am I going to spend with them? How do I do that? If you're a busy person, you got to calendar this stuff and like schedule and, you got to plan. But then personal finances, investments, I'm doing the same thing. What do I want personally with my vision for that? What do I want to be financially? How am I going to get there? And then you kind of go through some budgetary things. And then the same thing for the businesses is and you could do it with rental properties separate, but so try to stay in a column to help you keep organized as you build a strategic plan. You can set the big picture vision like Mark talked about of everything in your life and what you want happening in 10 years, but then start to break down kind of this, as Mark says in his article and books, is kind of like the nuts and bolts really, and the how-to you're going to get there. Yeah. Now, this is where the planning and the writing down and thinking backwards of, okay, where do I need to be in 5, where do I need to be in 3 years? What can I do now in a year? Yeah. So where I'll be in 3, 5, and then 10.
And if anything, the goal is the ideal scene. Now it's time to get into tasks. And when Matt said we hit about 90%, or in baseball, that'd be we hit 900, is that we, out of 10 things, we divide them up. We say, okay, Matt, you're going to do this. I'm going to do this, or we are going to do this. And we create tasks. So the strategic plan for the year is not so much goals as it is tasks, and it's going to be numerically trackable. I want to be able to say, and Matt, like, we're going to have so many followers on YouTube by the end of the year. Yeah. What are we going to do to get there? What are the things we're going to do? And then we have that number that can be measured. That's the word I was looking for. Because if you don't have measurable tasks, it's like, I'm going to be a better person. What the hell does that mean? Yeah. Or you say, I'm going to do 7 good tasks a week. I'm going to do a good deed. And for you scouters out there, I'm going to do a good deed daily. And when I do it, I'm going to put a little tick mark, and I'm going to write it in my strategic plan. Okay, now you have something measurable to be a better person. You just don't say it. So,
yeah. So now this is where you are kind of getting your to-do list. All right.
Yeah.
And um, sometimes this can be daunting because you got to be realistic about it. But again, you want to be aggressive on where you want to be. So now you need to start prioritizing too. That's the next thing is
Hmm.
I think sometimes there's like a lot of ideas that you want to do in your business.
Yeah.
And the strategic plan is really the time. This is why I like writing it out because if you can break it down into pieces, you know you can get that thing done. I think a lot of times if you think, oh, I need to do this all in a year or in wherever, the time period you're setting, start calendaring it. Okay, what am I going to do first quarter? Maybe there's 5 or 6 things that are critical in your business you want part of your strategic plan this year. All right, do not do all 5 right now.
Yeah.
Start with 1. Can you get that done in a month or 2? Okay, move on to the next one. And maybe it's quarterly. That's how we do it in some of our stuff, at least in the directed IRA strategic plan. And so that way, we got to get this done. You know what's coming next. You don't have any downtime. You move on to the next one. And now you can kind of bite at a time. You can kind of chip away at this.
Okay, and Matt said something interesting there. He really said 2 things, in my opinion. He said, 1, prioritize. So what's your list and what's most important? And then he added a timeline to it. And you want to create deadlines for yourself and say, okay, I've got, let's say 4 things. Let's just say 4. And you go, I've got to get these 4 things done in my business that will really launch my business for the long-term success I want. Okay. I'm going to do 1 first quarter, 1 second quarter, 3rd quarter, and you put them in order of priority. And you say, I can't go on to number 2 until I get number 1 finished. And I want it done by April 1st. I've got 3 months to get it done.
Yeah.
Then the last dynamic piece of that is you've created a task list based on your ideal scene. You prioritized it. You created a timeline. You're going to write it down and you're going to share it. Because when you write it down, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a little too ambitious. I can't do that. Well, okay, then tone it down a little. It's your plan. Don't set yourself up for failure either. You want to stretch yourself, and then you're going to share it with your board and go, this is what I'm going to do first quarter. And everybody, we're going to meet at Ruth Chris for dinner for a steak and lobster meal. And I'm going to reward myself because I beat it. And I'm going to invite all of you on April 2nd. And I'm going to report to you how I'm doing. Oh, now you're going to be held accountable. And it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why having a partner or someone else, spouse, board of advisors involved is there for accountability. You want their ideas too, and you want their input, of course, but they're probably one of the most important things they're doing is their accountability. Because these are the people that are important in our business or in our life that we want to, we want to live up to what we say we're going to do. We want to do it. So, okay. Do you want to break down categories on how you do it? I know you, in terms of like, systems.
Yeah. Well, let me make a couple comments.
Okay.
First of all, some people think, well, you guys are just tax and legal guys. No, we are truly at the core business consultants. We get on the phone with clients all the time. And if we find out they're in debt, their marriage is on the rocks, their kids are in rehab, their business is failing. Do you think we're going to talk about their LLC and S Corp in that phone call? No, we're going to share with them what we've seen other successful clients do. We're a business therapist. we're going to listen to you, and we have a fiduciary duty to tell you what's best for you. And I had a phone call from a client this morning that said, Mark, I'm begging to get on your calendar. Please, please, please. And I go, we've got 6 great tax attorneys, please. And they said, Mark, they just don't peer into my soul like you do. And I'm like, ugh. And so I'm going to try to squeeze them in. I'm trying to be very judicious with my time. But the point here is, this process of sharing it, and these categories are very individualistic to you. They're going to vary, and it's more than just tax and legal. But that may be on the list. Where Matt and I a lot of times fit into people's strategic plan is they say, this year I'm going to get my tax return reviewed and get a second opinion. All right. Yeah. That's something on my list. Number 2, I'm going to make sure I did my company minutes and that my LLC and S Corp is in good standing with the state, and I have a book. So if I get into a lawsuit or an audit, I'm legit. Because all I've got is a piece of paper from LegalZoom 3 years ago. Okay, that's not an entity. So that's on one of your legal lists. So you might have, I'm going to get better contracts for my relationships with my vendors and my customers. Others might be financial, like Matt said. I'm going to get a better point of sale system in place for where I can run people's cards. I want to save money on my merchant fees. I want to do, and Matt, what would
Yeah.
be some that you might come to your mind that are system? Um,
Yeah, that are system based. Well, maybe moving more stuff online, having options for my customers to do things online or purchase online or pay online or schedule online. Um,
Updating the
so
website,
what's that?
updating the website.
Updating your website, right? I mean, marketing your services better on the website. Um, thinking of how other marketing things you're going to be doing. I mean, Mark to mention like YouTube. Like that. A lot of the marketing things can be quantified. In terms of like response, like a social media is easy because you can really track that. Your website, you get analytics on, you can track that. But a lot of marketing things you can at least track in, did I do it? I don't know how it went, but I know I did this. I spoke at 10 things, or I went to 5 networking events, or whatever it may be. Sometimes you don't know how it's affecting the business yet, but you can at least quantify, did I go and do those things I thought would make a difference?
Yeah.
And yeah, I did. I attended 4 networking events,
I'm
or
looking
2
around my
conferences, whatever.
Corey, can you grab my 8 steps over there? So I have what's called the 8 steps workbook, and I have a whole section, 8 steps to build or grow or start a business. Um, in my 8 steps workbook, I have a whole section on strategic planning and a 2-hour, 3 hours worth of video in it. And sorry to do a shameless plug here. You can get it for $99 on my website or on Amazon, but it's a workbook. It's not just a book. There's 60 little videos with QR codes in it. And I give you a Word document of a typical strategic plan broken into areas. So if some of you are like, well, I don't even know where to start, for $99, this is like Dave Ramsey's FPU, Financial Peace University. I tried to model it for a business financial piece. Like, how do I grow my business? And I tried to pick up where Dave Ramsey left off when it came to business. But some of these other ideas would be, and I talk about this in the book, is I've got to fire that employee, or I'm going to hire 2 new employees, or I'm going to implement better standard operating procedures called SOPs. I want to get my employees more effective in the duties they're responsible for. And that could be first quarter. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to spend time with my employees. I'm going to make sure they're all trained, that we're all on the same page. We're going to get better uniforms, better shirts, better rah systems. We're going to do a daily huddle. We're going to have a goal chart on the wall, and we're going to ring a bell, and I'm going to include bonuses for this or that. Gosh, I had another system thing too. Oh, another one was maybe, like Matt said, networking. You may say, I'm going to start my own network group. I'm going to choose 10 business owners in my local area, and I'm going to host a networking group once a month and just do breakfast. Anyway, but these are all these little tasks that are going to help you in the long run too. I don't know, but
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention on employees, this was cool. I was listening to Daniel Ek, who's one of the founders of Spotify, and he talked about what he does with his employees is he calls it a 2-year mission. Interesting for those, the Mormon church to have a 2-year mission. But he says every employee has a 2-year mission here. And every 2 years it changes. So when you're working, I don't care what job you have a 2-year mission of what you're supposed to be accomplishing. And the reason I like that is it really fits into like an individual strategic plan for an employee. It's got a defined time period. It's not like, I need you to do this next month. It's enough time where they can really do something they can make a big deal in your business. And he says some people's 2-year mission is more of the same. It's like, you did great at that. You just keep doing more of that. But a lot of it, he says, actually shifts quite a bit into things that they're doing. And a lot of employees, you could look at their 2-year missions they've had, and they're very, very different over their career they've been there. So, so think about, as you're looking at employees in helping them create or be part of the strategic plan, so they know at least what am I driving? What's the company's objective? And where do I fit in this? What do you want from me out of it? And your team loves this. They love knowing, where the hell are we going? Communicate this. How can I help? They want to help. They want to be part of the success of it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Matt. And Matt and I first learned more about this at Lululemon, who is a company very dedicated to the experience that their employees have. And when you have an employee review and you ask them, what are your goals? Can you imagine that? and a business owner asking their employee, what are your goals? How can our company help you achieve your goals? Whoa. Like I can guarantee we don't even do that as much as we should with our employees
Yeah.
at all. And that's a huge thing because now you're getting the employee bought into a company, a program that's personally helping them. Um, Dang it, I was going to say something else on this too. I like um, that meeting with your employees. Oh, what I was going to say. Um, oh, keep talking, Matt. I was
Okay.
going to
Well,
say
I was to say the
something.
next thing to keep in mind on this um, is you want to quantify this and try to manage by statistics.
Mhm.
Okay. We want to look at numbers. We can quantify this and know the progress we're making or not. And some businesses or people call it a KPI, a key performance indicator on what's happening in your business and identify those, but tie them to your strategic plan. So for example, a statistic might be website traffic. Okay. How many people are on my website? And then, because then you can think back of like, well, how do I get more people on my website?
Yeah.
Maybe that's more social media. Maybe that's more events. Maybe that's getting links and making relationships with other parties and places that get people to your website. Okay. The next thing you could say is like, okay, how many people contacted me or got services from the website? All right. That's the next statistics. Okay. But then you could even be like, all right, how many customers did I have? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a way for customers to know what's going on in your business? Are you how many people are on it? Are they reading it? You know, a lot of these things are quantifiable. But even I think your services, one thing we do at Directed IRA is when we get positive feedback, we ask customers to give us a 5-star review. Go look at Directed IRA's 5-star reviews. You might fall off your chair on how great they are, but you know, we do a good job. But you can see like that quantifies too the experience our customers are getting. We know if we get a lot of those, we know we're doing a good job. I know that from in management in my team that we're not going to get a 5-star review every other day if we're not kicking butt.
Yeah.
And we do.
Oh, I love it, Matt. So good. Well, let me finish with one other example too. I got to bring up the calendar. Don't let me forget.
Yeah.
But I remember what I was going to say about the employee thing. A lot of times, one of the first big steps for a small business owner is hiring their first employee or their first
Yeah.
assistant. And I'm going to refer to two people here by first name only, not the type of industry they're in or where they're at in the country. But these are the real first names. I've talked to them both recently that are going through this process. So it's Holly and Sydney. And Holly, as a business owner, has never had a kind of a full-time personal assistant. And Sydney has never been a full-time assistant, but she's really trying to work her way into this industry and this business. And both long-term want to work together. That's good. They want to be there. But I was really proud of them because they sat down on an email and the business owner said, here's what I expect. Here's what I want from this relationship. And then turned around and said, what do you want from this relationship, Sydney? And Sydney was so happy to go, here's what I want from this relationship. And they made sure they talked about that. And they said, okay, now we know how we're going to work together on a day-to-day basis. So they were able to framework compensation, calendaring, schedules, and tasks based on this broader concept of when you go hire your first personal assistant, just don't hire one for the hell of it. Just say, but write down, what do I want out of this? What are the tasks I need this person to do? And how can I make it rewarding for them so they're getting as much out of this relationship as I am? And so I that was something I've been involved with quite a bit with these two folks. And I think they're on the right direction and they're planning it out and it's being
Yeah.
very, very positive. So
Yeah.
well,
Last point I had, this goes so fast, but last point that I had was looking at the strategic plan
mm,
and coming back to it, um, assessing where you are. Maybe sometimes there's something you're going to say, you know what? I just don't even need to do that anymore. Something's changed in my business or what I'm doing. That doesn't matter.
and it's
Knock it off the
okay.
list. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to be like, crap, I got to start doing this. For example, I'll just say like in the law firm, you know, our strategic plan shifted drastically because of COVID, not only from an operational standpoint, what we can do online and capability and stuff in the cloud and employees at home and all that. I mean, like every business owner, we had to go through that in all of our businesses. But one thing from a marketing standpoint is like, we didn't want to be experts on stimulus. and government assistance on this stuff.
Unemployment.
For small business, on unemployment, on this thing called PPP no one had heard about, or, but we did because we knew that would be a big deal for our customers and clients. And so we went after it. We became experts on it. We got up to speed on it. It became a good marketing tool for us. It let us help our existing clients. It helped us bring in new clients. And that was a big shift in our strategic plan that year that we would never plan to do.
Oh, this time last year, we would never saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, there was coronavirus in China this time last year. No one thought about hitting the US.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, on that final note, my calendar, here's a sneak peek. This is the 2021 calendar in the final draft format.
Ooh, I like it.
It's
I like the font.
Finish, nice. Little shiny. See that for those on YouTube?
Am I getting a free one or do I have to buy it?
Oh, you'll have to buy it. But
okay. I get a discount at least.
I'll give you a discount. No, but this is $25 or less. But there's a lot into this. If you can see online, there's tables of what different tax dates and dollar amounts and deadlines, as well as states strategies and how they vary from state to state. And some people have been emailing quite a bit going, I bought this freaking in December or November. When do I get it? Well, please, we're within the next 10 days. I'm trying to get it out the door. But here's why there's been a delay. A lot of times the IRS, in fact, every year, they don't announce a lot of deadlines and dollar amounts and dates until the first of the year. And also with this COVID legislation that just passed with the appropriations bill, there's a number of deadlines that have been affected. And so every day I'm about ready to go to the printer, Texas changed the deadline, or Washington State changed the deadline. I was up until 1 a.m. just going through different state rules on deadlines and different things. So I've done my best to make sure that when you comb through this on a monthly basis, you see what the deadlines are and they're accurate to the greatest extent possible. But there's a section on writing your 10-year plan. And then there's halfway through the year, I force you to do a 6-year review. I mean, a 6-month review. Mm-hmm. So this little yellow page is, okay, how did I make it halfway through the year? What do I need to change and modify? And what I love about this is I carry it on a plane. That's kind of my personal time to get on a plane. I feel like I'm 30,000 feet above the world, which I am at the moment. And I look down and go,
I'm on top of the world.
I'm on top of the world. How's it going? And it's kind of symbolic for me that I'm above the fray. I'm above the trees in my business. And I pull out my planner and I look at the month and the year and my checklist. What did Matt and I say we were going to do? What am I going to do? It's got all, anyway. So if any of you wanted this calendar, you can get to markjkohler.com. There's a link for that. As soon as I'm shipping them, there's going to be a bigger push to let everybody know about it. But if you've ordered it, be patient. It's going to be well worth the wait. You're going to have accurate data for the whole year. It's not just a calendar. It's got deadlines from state to state throughout the country. So you'll love it. Well, Matt, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for being with us on the Main Street Business Podcast. And if you're still listening, I think you liked it. Maybe not. Maybe there was no other option available. Mm-hmm. This is the only podcast you downloaded for a long flight, and there's nothing else to listen to. You would have been looking up into nothing. But with the exception of that situation, please share it with your friends. Give us a 5-star review or like based on whatever you're listening to. And we're going to be back next week, of course, on the Main Street Business Podcast, probably doing open forum.
Yep.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll hit some of your stimulus questions. Mark and I are doing a webinar with Entrepreneur later this week. Also, the Directed IRA podcast, we're going to be going over cryptocurrency, all the hot stuff on crypto and Bitcoin that you can purchase with your retirement account. So lots of stuff going on. Again, best way to stay updated on all this is get to mainstreetbusiness.com, sign up for our newsletter. You'll get updates on all this stuff that's going on and the education Mark and I are trying to get out there.
And you can submit your questions for our show at mainstreetbusiness.com. You can either record a voice memo or type up a question, and we burn through them as quick as we can in the show. And so type in a question there at mainstreetbusiness.com. So
thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.